Associate Professor at Hasan Kalyoncu University. Murat, always a pleasure to have you on. One of your specialist subjects is also security. So why don't we start with whether you believe there's any credibility in Israel's own defense when it says it does try to protect civilian lives in Gaza. We understand that they say they have some kind of software program that is supposed to project how many civilians might die in every strike that Israel undertakes. But with 19,000 people almost dead already, can any of that be believed?
Dear Nawaz, such sort of conflicts really limits to predict future. You can't generate projections. So it doesn't matter what sort of software you are using. Well, the facts on the ground directly underlines, delineates exactly what to happen and when to happen and how it will happen. And also, please, let's remember one thing. The military acts per decision-making processes, either political or military. So the number of casualties projected by any software, well, it can't ignore the decisions taken by political leadership or commanders, military commanders. So I believe that the word credibility in here is really important because we are just at the edge, maybe beyond, of losing it. And I remember two different things really worth to mention in here. Now, I was born in 1969. And I remember a lot of movies of Hollywood that tells Holocaust, the pianist, well, the Schindler's List. Who can tell us that, well, another time you watch these movies, then you will remember more than 19,000 Palestinians currently devastated, killed, and, well, no credibility then.
Murat, in terms of the diplomacy that is happening, and what almost certainly has to be described as diplomatic failures, do you see it more as a failure from the Americans in Washington or maybe as a failure of the Arab world? Because this is the Arab world. This is their world, and they haven't been able to do anything and have any influence at all over what's happening.
I have two different approaches for this. The first one is correct and right. Well, all actors up until now did something wrong, and it doesn't make one right, especially for the sake of humanitarian security, human security. The second aspect is the failure in politics, and I see both American and Arab politics failing. Why? If there is a united Arab stance and Muslim stance, one step further, well, you can at least press the United States, Israel, Europe to accept something, to limit themselves. And 1973 is a clear example for this. On the other hand, if you go to the United States, unfortunately, now they see themselves as hyperpower, not superpower, as the only power dominating the globe and generating norms of the international system. On the other hand, the basic principles of, for instance, a just war conceptualization, the law of war, well, we can't see it. What happened to jus in bello, how to proceed a war? Then we have to question exactly the consistency. I remember a book of 1990s of Joseph Nye, Soft Power, which directly claims the consistency of words and deeds, consistency of foreign policies and internal practices. And today we are, especially the United States, is too far away from this reality or these principles or norms created by the Western Hemisphere.
Yeah, when you mention the ethics of war, Murat, what comes to mind is that how the Western world has called almost all of Russia's military actions in Ukraine war crimes, and Israel is doing almost exactly the same as the Russians have been doing in Ukraine, but the West is not calling it war crimes. Let's end with a slight look at the future. Do you see any possibility of an external actor? Turkey has already offered to be a guarantor of security in Gaza. Do you see any external actor being able to play that role and it being acceptable to all of the actors who are involved in this?
Well, if the state actors come together and act accordingly to prevent any escalation, it's an input. Other than states, I believe, they are the communities in every country protesting and raising a hand to stop something. Today, the picture is a bit complicated, but easy. The states in the Western Hemisphere, well, they are dependent on the security provided by the United States against Russians. So they just observe the intention of the US government. On the other hand, there is a polarization in their societies. Some of them are pro-Israeli and some others are pro-Palestinian. So we will see exactly who will weigh more, especially before the elections. I believe that there will be a transformation, but to what extent it will be effective, efficient, I'm not sure. And if you go to and visit Chinese policies, still non-intervention is the basic principle, maybe the legacy of Deng Xiaoping. If you go to Russia, they are interested in Ukraine for a victory, and Palestine is just a leverage to be comfortable on the front. Then who left?
Murat, you always provoke our thoughts. Thank you so much indeed. A pleasure, as I said, to have you on. Take care.